That's incredible. He was like, I don't even believe in God, and that is incredible. Brothers and sisters, may the Lord give you his peace. Father Malachy, great to be here with you again this day. Got a question for you. Do you have struggles with your faith? Do you have doubts? Do you might possibly not even believe? If so, this video is for you. So today in the Catholic Church, we celebrate a feast of a saint, St. Thérèse of Lisieux. She was a French girl who died at the age of 24, lived at the end of the 19th century, and she was a Carmelite nun. And if you come in contact with Thérèse, you'll often encounter this nun holding roses. You'll encounter this kind of very devotional, pious image of a saint, a bit saccharine, and honestly, no offense to those that are moved by that, not my type. When it comes to relating to the saints, my own relationship has been one that I want to be able to know that this person has some kind of point of contact with my own experience and my humanity. Doesn't mean I want to pull them down from the heights of sanctity that they may be raised up to, but there's got to be some point in which I can say, yeah, what I see in you is what I see in my life, and therefore has something to say about my life. And the place where I've found this point of contact with Thérèse is doubt, is the struggle with faith, is suffering in darkness. And I just want to read some words from Thérèse and just let them sink in for you here. She writes this in a journal about her own interior experience. She says, "Suddenly the fog which surrounds me becomes more dense. It penetrates my soul, says mockingly to me, 'You're dreaming about the light, about a fatherland embalmed in the sweetest perfumes. You're dreaming about the eternal possession of the creator of all these marvels. You believe that one day you're going to walk out of this fog which surrounds you. Ha. Advance, advance, rejoice in death, which will give you not what you hope for, but a night still more profound, the night of nothingness.'" So when we say Saint Thérèse, it means that the church says the life of this person that we call a saint is one that should be emulated, should be looked to as an example, should somehow be an inspiration for us in our own journey in our life of faith. And here we are hearing this. And Thérèse will also say, she says, that everything has become nothing to me. I feel alone. She's looking around at the world around her and just this sense of feeling alone, things have just become meaningless. And then she writes this, "My will is to endure by love the darkness of my exile here." And so here's the crux, right? Here's the turning point. All of us as human beings experience darkness, I believe. I haven't met one who hasn't. And I know that my life as a friar definitely keeps me in contact with the dark underbelly of society in so many ways, seeing the brokenness and the sin, the pain, the suffering that exist. And in the face of that, in the face of darkness, suffering, situations, questions that we don't have answers to about our own life, the lives of our families. In the face of all of this, how is it possible to say, my will is to endure by love this darkness? That just sounds crazy. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds unreasonable to say, I'm just going to endure it by love, and it's here we go, pull up your bootstraps. Come on now, you just got to believe. What Thérèse is saying, what the saints say, what sort of a Christian proposal is, the ability to stand before the darkness, to stand before suffering, to stand before real doubts, maybe even about the existence of God, to stand in front of that in the way that she is only possible because one has received this gift. It's a gift that we call faith. And faith comes through the experience, let me say that, comes through experience of an encounter with a loving presence. A loving presence that's not just a force out there, but it is a person who comes in search of us, comes to be with us, a person whose name is Emmanuel, Jesus Christ, God with us, right? He's not just with us in those moments that are all sunshine and, like flowers. He's with us in the depths of those moments of darkness, that suffering, that feeling of being alone. In fact, in Matthew 27, Jesus says himself, the words of the one that we say is God made man, says, my God, why have you abandoned me?" Jesus doesn't stay far away from your doubt. He actually comes right into it. He comes into it to be with us in that, so that even there, as far as faiths go, that Christianity proposes a God who even is with you when you don't believe in him. He's even with you in the place where you don't sense or don't have a conviction about the reality of his presence, whether it be his existence or his particular attention or love for you in whatever situation you're going through. All of these places are places where he has come to. But there's this mystery with faith, and it's like the timing of the when and the where and how this encounter happens. Like we're not totally in control of that. There is a mystery to it. And in that way, I have such a profound reverence for those who struggle with faith. I have a profound reverence for those who have real questions that don't have easy answers. And I don't want to be the one to try and offer an easy answer. But I do know that God has come in search of us in the person of Jesus Christ. I know he's come in search of me. And I know the encounter with that love is the only reason why my heart can walk in the midst of the storms that do come. The darkness, it is real. But the ability to stand there is because, like, I've met him. Thérèse met him. Thérèse knew this love. This love was at the center of her life. And it was there even in the moments when she couldn't feel it. She couldn't see it. She didn't sense that. But that love was this anchor inside of her. And this love comes in search of you and in search of me in the time and the way that God desires. But what can we do? I was thinking about an experience I had a number of years ago. I've spoken about this other times, of being on mission in Belgium, in Ghent, at this huge festival. One of the things we were doing to try and just like offer people an opportunity for an encounter with this living presence that I'm talking about. And one of these nights while I'm out there at about 1:30 in the morning, this young couple comes walking up to me and they look at me and I'm dressed like this, right? And I sort of fit the part. I'm in the midst of this like old medieval town, right? At this big festival. And they look at me and they're like, "What are you?" And I was like, have you ever heard of Francis of Assisi? And they're like, no. I was like, do you know like the gospel? It's like, no. And I was like, okay, man, where do I go? And the place that I went for myself was I shared my story of how my life had been marked by suffering and pain and addiction, and an encounter with the love of this presence, of this real presence of this person, Jesus Christ, had totally transformed me and freed me and set me on a different course than I had ever expected to be on in my life. And as I said this, the young man who's looking at me says, "Wow, that's incredible." He was like, "I don't even believe in God, and that is incredible." And I was like, bro, it is incredible, but it is not the most incredible thing, because the most incredible thing is that God wants that for you as well. And if you're still watching this video and you struggle with faith and maybe don't even believe in God, I want to say that to you as well. Like this presence, this love, this encounter, this light, this peace, this joy, this freedom, it's for you. Like he came for you just as much as he's come for me. And I said that to him and he looks at me and I said, I was like, would you be open to just like saying a prayer to invite God to come and to like, show up if he is real? And he looks at me, he's like, well, I don't believe. And I was like, okay, like you don't have to believe. I was like, just be open. And I'm going to bring to the table the faith that I have and pray to the God that I believe in. And then you just show up and pray to the God you don't believe in. And he looks at me and he kind of like looks at his girlfriend. He's like, okay. I was like, what's going on here? And then nods. He was like, okay. It was like, do I have to do something? And I was like, no. He's like, I've never prayed. I was like, cool. I was like, great. Let's do this. Simply had them close their eyes for a moment, began to just say a prayer over them and ask for God's blessing and prayed for the Father to just reveal his love for each of them as his son and as his daughter. I looked up and I look over and this girl is just like weeping and weeping. And then I'm looking at this guy and he's just staring at me and he's like, what just happened? And I was like, I don't know, dude, you tell me. And then he looks at me, he was like, it's like Jesus is like real and he's here. And I'm like, 'cause he is real and he is here. He's even here in your unbelief. He's even with you in the place of darkness. And if you look at the church and you see sort of like a Pollyanna version of faith, that's not the reality of the gospel. That's fake news, okay? That's fake Catholicism. The reality of our faith, right, is that it's a faith that doesn't turn back from those hard moments in life, but presses into them because we know not that because of our faith we don't have suffering, or because of our faith I won't have doubts, or because of my faith like somehow there'll never be darkness or difficulty. None of that. What we know is that in each of those moments, because of our faith, because of who God is, Emmanuel, God with us, we know that in each of those moments, no matter what's happening, we're never alone. This is the confidence. And Thérèse had this confidence because she had experienced this presence and love of God. You know, I don't know that you have or haven't, or maybe you have and there's situations you're facing that are challenging that faith, but there's an invitation. And Thérèse would talk about this. She's like, I have to make one after another act of faith. What is this act of faith? It's like, Lord, I do believe, help my unbelief. We hear that in the gospel on the lips of this father whose daughter is suffering and about to die. It's like, Lord, I do believe, help my unbelief. That Jesus in those moments invites us to this faith, to believe, Lord, and to pray. And maybe the prayer that you need to pray is a prayer that I prayed with this couple in Belgium. And it was just this simple prayer. God, I don't know if you're real, but if you are, I give you permission to reveal yourself. I'm open. I'd invite you to say that prayer. Maybe you've never prayed before. Awesome. Here's an opportunity to simply open your heart to the possibility of this encounter with this love that makes even the place of darkness and unbelief and doubt a place of communion, a place of the presence of a light that the darkness cannot conquer. That's the one that we're following, brothers and sisters. Let's keep following his footsteps all the way home to the Father's house. God bless.